Good morning, my lovelies. How are you guys? I'm just talking to myself because I see nobody's here yet. And I'll give it a second for you guys to come in. If no one comes in, then I'll just start rolling. Um, yeah, I've really been enjoying this new little process that I have of turning on my live before I'm completely ready. Because as I've shared with you guys, like you're never completely ready. Literally, you're never completely ready. If you're going to wait till you're completely ready, you're never going to start your live, in my opinion. So, oh, who's here? It says somebody's here. Maybe they can type in and say hi. Maybe they can't. That's all right. Either way, lurking is more than welcome. Absolutely. So, I had to come on live. I was actually kind of going to take the day off because I spent the morning making a couple of shorts and I was just feeling so proud of myself for doing the thing with the shorts and for doing my lives 4 days in a row after so much inconsistency since I think it started a couple of weeks before the election. Because honestly, I was a hot mess. I was so anxious, so depressed. We have two lurkers. I hope you're friend, not foe. But if you're foe, that's okay. Just be nice, be polite, and then I won't know. Um, anyway, what was I saying? Trying to keep a train of thought is very, very challenging. That's the problem with doing a live, but I love it. I love the challenge. So the reason I came on live is because the Hannah Kashiyobi Koshiyaba Koshiyaba. No, Koyasaka. I'm looking it up. I have seen it like a million times. You think I'd be able to remember it, but like I told you guys, once my wires crossed, I'm completely screwed. Kobayashi. Okay. Let me just spit it out before I do anything, before I do my disclaimer or anything. Dog the Bounty Hunter knows her. Alice Moral Dennis, hello. Sound and look great. Great hair day. Thank you. Thank you, Jackie Bushable. Thanks both for being here and for commenting. And now we have 4. We only have 2 likes, though. If everybody can hit the like, that helps get the thing rolling. Um, did you guys hear me? What I said? Did you see it in the title? Dog the Bounty Hunter knows Hannah Kobayashi. I can play you the News Nation video, but I already put a link to it in the description. This is the craziest case in the world. I am very concerned about Hannah's safety. Hannah Kobayashi. Kobayashi. I should be able to remember it, but I probably won't. I'm totally concerned about her safety. So let me do my disclaimer. Everything I say is simply my opinion for the sake of hoping to start a conversation, open up a discussion, learn something, be educational. All my videos are made for YouTube. It's an entertainment platform. I love you guys. Alice says, yes, that's weird. He knows her. So much doesn't add up. So he doesn't like know her well right now. It doesn't sound like. It's a 4-minute News Nation video. I put the link to it in my description. I may or may not play it. If you guys want me to play it, let me know. If you don't want me to play it, let me know. And we can decide as a democracy, because that's what it's all about. His daughter was friends with her. I don't think he's seen her for about 7 years. And he used to live in Hawaii. So Hannah had a sleepover at his daughter's house, or his daughter had a sleepover at her house. But I don't know, sleepovers at the age of 23, that's pretty weird. Let me read you what the interweb says about Hannah. You're not going to like it at all, okay? If you Google Hannah Kobayashi, you got the Daily Beast, and they're very accurate in my opinion. But what I wanted to read to you was what Wikipedia says. Are you ready? Well, this is spelled a different way. Hana Kobayashi, the first name is spelled Hana. But I still thought it was interesting because, let's see, it may or may not be relevant. Sometimes I just hate the freaking internet. And this is one of the reasons why I hate it, because you don't know what is real and what's crap. And this says, born March 19th, 1982, which would make her a lot older than 30. A Venezuelan singer of Japanese descent. Okay, yeah, it's different parents because they totally got their wires crossed. They were saying that she lived in Hawaii and that her father was Ryan Kobayashi, but now it's saying different stuff. Maybe somebody edited it badly, maybe somebody fixed it. Because yeah, you can edit these things. That's what's so weird. Anyway, it said that she was an actress and that she lived in Los Angeles and that she was like 42 years old and that she went to school at the University of Syracuse in New York. And I was just like, wait, an actress that lives in Los Angeles? Wouldn't that be effed up if we'd all had, which actually wouldn't surprise me. In the very least, it wouldn't surprise me. But I mean, this case is just as weird gets, right? So we'll ignore that whole thing and just go with I'm so concerned for her safety. Small world after all. That's weird. He knows her. Jackie says, I'm sitting down. So at first, last night, when I found that information about, like I put in my video yesterday, that Hana was not on the flight with just her ex-boyfriend, Eamon, but Eamon wasn't sitting next to her because she was sitting next to her husband, Alan. And Alan's girlfriend, Mariana, was also on the flight, and she's married to Eamon. I thought I was going crazy. I was like, did I just like get this off some random hack thing off the internet? So I checked it a whole bunch of times, as many places as I could. And it seems like it's just starting to take, like people are just starting to realize that there were 4 of them on that flight. So Alan was sitting next to Hana, and she wasn't sitting next to Eamon. Eamon has maybe set up 4 of these fraudulent marriages. I don't know what the penalty is for that type of crime. I don't know if it's jail time. I don't know. I guess it depends on your case, right? Everything does, and how much money you have to hire the best attorney in the world and all that. Anyway, I don't get the feeling that Hannah's evading the law because she's concerned about getting busted. I get the feeling, and I did my disclaimer. I could be completely off in left field, but I get the feeling that she fell in love with Alan, and then Alan played on it to try to get out of the payment. I don't know how much the payment is. I would bet you like $20,000 or something, right? I mean, I could Google average payment for a Visa marriage, and I'm just going to go ahead and do that. Average payment for Visa marriage. See what they say. They might have the police come knocking on my door, right? Well, government filing fees. No, that's not what I meant. Yeah, government filing fees are just a few thousand. Average payment for fraudulent. the cost of marriage fraud can be up to $250,000. This was updated just a couple of months ago. What is the charge for fraudulent marriage? Imprisonment up to 5 years. I'm still not getting what I want, which is okay, here we go. How much do foreigners pay to marry a US citizen? This is, again, not illegal, but legal. It's not that much, right? But let's see. That's funny. Of course, I can't find it, right? Penalties for committing immigration marriage fraud, fake marriage forgiveness, getting paid to marry for citizenship. See, they don't want to tell you how much money that you can make because it probably is like $20,000 or $30,000, and they don't want people doing it. We all remember that great movie Green Card, right, with Andie MacDowell and Gerard, however you said his name, Depardieu or something like that. Is it illegal to pay someone to marry you for a green card in the United States? Of course it is. How much money would a non-citizen pay? They only talk about, okay, here in Texas, it's $250,000 and 10 years in prison. It's a felony. Both the American and the immigrant will be charged. The immigrant will merely be sent home, never to be allowed near the USA again. The American who participates in this scheme will suffer a much greater loss. Wow, I didn't realize that. But then it goes right into a sponsored thing. What are some ways to make consistent income without a second job? Because, yeah, they think I'm looking it up to see how much money I can make by a fraudulent marriage. 10 years and $250,000 for the American, potentially. Or you can pay an attorney probably $100,000 and they can get you off with community service or something, right? Depending on who your attorney is, depending on who you are. It's all about connections. It's all about who you know, sadly, and it's all about how much money you have. But that's interesting. I didn't realize that the immigrant would only be deported. And I say only, I know that for some people coming from some countries in some situations that can be a death sentence. So, wow. Anyway, let's get rolling with the rest of the show here. And let me get my fancy pencil so I can impress you guys with how classy I am. This is a pencil, a gold pencil. I have a gold toilet also. Okay. Make sure you're still subscribed to my channel. If you are subscribed, if you're not, please share it with somebody. Share the video if you like it. You could share a couple of the shorts that I made this morning. I think they're good because they kind of take a couple of precise points from yesterday's video and boil it down into 60 seconds or less. Turn on your notification bell to ring if you want to be notified. So yeah, I'll say it again. I think that Hannah is in great danger. She said that she was stripped of her identity and that she can't fly. All 4 of them were on the flight. Hannah, her husband, should we say fake husband, fake real husband, her real ex-boyfriend, and his fake wife, who is the girlfriend of her fake husband. You just can't make this stuff up, can you? It'll make you schizophrenic just trying to follow the whole line of, I can't even say that it's like logic, because it's not. I mean, it is, but it isn't, right? I mean, committing crimes is never logical. It's never a good idea. I think that people do them without thinking, and people do them thinking that it's going to be a good solution to whatever the problem is that they have, and it's really never a good solution. Even if you don't get caught, the amount of stress and anxiety that it can create, fearing that you're going to get caught, like you're really shooting yourself in the foot. Just try to be as clean as possible, right? When you hang out with, when you're living in that kind of world, and you're surrounding yourself with half truths and lies, and things get shifty, things get shady, shit goes south really quickly, right? And the Fargo movie exemplifies that perfectly. So the Fargo movie is actually based on true events from 1986, 1987. So there was the guy in Fargo who hired a couple of thugs to fake kidnap his wife so that he could um, basically extort money from her extremely wealthy and stingy father. And the whole thing was a nightmare. I mean, even if it didn't go sideways, like for a guy to think that putting his wife through a fake kidnapping, even if she comes out unscathed, what a freaking bastard. Like, how scary would that be? Like, you don't know that it's a fake kidnapping. He could have told her it was a fake kidnapping and that he was trying to get money from her dad. That could have saved her life. That could have saved everybody's life. But like I said, these people aren't very smart. They're not thinking things through. He could have just like not needed the money, right? I don't know if he had a gambling problem or if he just wasn't paying his bills or what, but he could have tried to get other avenues to get the money legitimately, live without it, try to sweet talk the dad, the father-in-law. I mean, you got to get creative. I don't like to use the phrase, but it's apropos. There's 1,000 ways to skin a cat, right? So, often people only see one or two choices when there's 50 Shades of Gray, to quote the title of that story. Um, there's infinite number shades of gray. Things are not black and white, but we all get caught up in this very black and white thinking. And I feel like I have a hair in the back of my throat. How effing awful. Can I get it? I don't think I got it. Should I just drink it? And I have to apologize for my coffee yesterday when I reviewed the video. It had this big brown spot in it. That was just like the surface of the coffee. Sometimes it does that, it gets like a skin and then it sticks to the side of the cup. And it looks so gross if you noticed it. But just to clarify what that was, like I could have said it was chocolate or, cinnamon or something, but no, it was just the skin that sometimes forms on the surface of the Java. Like today, it wouldn't make a difference because it's got a navy blue inside. Okay, so I think that the law enforcement really needs to show that footage of Hannah Koyasaki. I think it's Koyasaki, right? I think I remembered it off the top of my head. Anyway, I'll bore you guys with my problems. Okay. I feel like the Los Angeles Police Department or whatever law enforcement it is needs to show that footage of Hannah, not just to her family, like that's a no-brainer, but to the public, because they're literally asking the public to contact them if they have any sightings of her. So that makes zero sense to say, we want your help. If you keep your eyes open, if you see her, let us know, but we're not going to show you what you're looking for. Again, it's so much like the freaking Kylie Rodney case. And again, they have the footage, but they're only going to show a still shot. And with Hannah, they're showing the back of her. So I'm suspicious AF that that is not really her, that that was somebody that resembled her, that had her passport, and this was how they got her underground, and that she is being trafficked is my concern. I don't know that she is being trafficked, but that's my concern. Why would they show us a photograph of the back of her head? That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. The other thing that makes me the most concerned and that's the most alarming about her case is the private investigator that involved himself with it and the types of things he's been saying, and that law enforcement and him are like, oh, nobody look for her, don't look for her, you're invading her privacy, you're being rude. But then the family's like, please, please look for her. I'm not saying that the family is completely innocent of all things. They're not. Like, they knew that she had a marriage certificate. They knew that it was an illegitimate type of marriage. They turned that over to the authorities. They tried to talk to the attorney that was the name was there with the documentation in Hannah's residence, allegedly. The lawyer wouldn't talk to them, which of course not, because, confidentiality and the lawyer's helping with illegal activities. No, they're not going to talk to them. But Hannah's family didn't put that information out. And again, I'm sure they have some good reasoning for that. Like, they don't want people to think like, oh, she's a criminal, so why should we even help, right? Or they just don't want people to question her integrity. That if people know that she's kind of cheating on that, then people might think that she's cheating on this whole missing thing. My suspicion from all the information I've gathered is that Alan broke her heart, and then he was taking her for a ride. He was trying to get out of paying for the agreement, and things were going sideways before they got on the plane. And I say that because the day before they got on the plane, Hannah posted, "Hell hath no wrath like a woman scorned," right? Hell hath no wrath like a woman scorned. She posted that on November 7th on like Instagram or a social media account. So she feels scorned, and there is nothing worse than having a broken heart. And if she thought that Alan was falling for her and she was falling for him, but then she finds out that he's not really falling for her, he's just pretending so that he can get the marriage deal, the green card, free of charge or for a lot less charge. Like, maybe he worked out a deal with Amon. I mean, Amon sounds like a real dirtbag, having set up 4 of these, allegedly. That information is from a man who says that he worked with Amon on a construction crew, and that Amon would brag about how he could make money with scams and was, offering to help other people with scams. Because, of course, if he can offer to help other people with those scams, then he gets a cut. Hey, Anna Bees. Nice to see you. So yeah, this whole thing is just really blowing up, but I think it's kind of slow because I think, like me, a lot of people are like, that can't be true. Alan can't be married to Hannah and his girlfriend Mariana married to Amon, who's Hannah's ex-boyfriend, and the 4 of them all flying together. That makes no sense. Except I feel like I made a Freudian slip in my video yesterday, and that was one of the things I made a short out of today, is when I said, instead of saying something about Hannah traveling to New York City, I said something like they were taking Hannah to New York City, right? They were delivering her. She was being delivered to New York City, potentially, in my opinion, possibly. So again, let me try to phrase it as a question. Could Hannah have been getting trafficked to New York City with these 3 MFs that she's traveling with that are all shafting her. And she didn't realize that they were like all in on this thing together. But then she figured it out. So then she bailed. She got out of Dodge in Los Angeles, and who knows when they realized she wasn't on the plane. Like maybe, maybe she just slipped away. Like if they were all having to transfer planes, which it sounds like they did have to, go through the terminal to get from one airplane to another. And they had like 42, 43 minutes in this giant LAX. And maybe she just slipped away at the last minute into the restroom or into a coffee shop or ducked into a magazine rack. And then, the doors on the airplane were shut before her party realized she was missing. How come there's no interviews with these 3 people, you guys? Even the name of Aman has been so secretive, and he's been cleared of everything. It's like, no, people don't travel with their exes very often. Sure, it can happen, but it's weird. David G says, in very traditional families, her behavior may be completely unacceptable. Her father, what difference cultures do some things differently. Father's wife is Japanese, very PC. Yeah, and thank you, David. I realized that her father is Japanese. I thought that he was like Hawaiian. But a lot of people in Hawaii are from Japan or Japanese descent, which is why I think a lot of people that are native there or considered native, I mean, people that are considered native there will tell you that nobody's native there, that it's all a mix of like Japanese and Samoan. And so it's easy to confuse. So thank you for pointing that out. I wanted to mention that. And yeah, the Japanese culture is very honorable. And when there is a dishonor, it's insurmountable. But I don't think we can venture to guess what was going on with her dad. I don't think that we can 100% trust the information that it was self deletion. Even if there's videotape footage of him doing that, he might have been threatened, like, if you don't do this, we're going to off your daughter, right? I mean, you just don't know. These stories get weirder and weirder. And from the beginning, I was like, why is this case even in the news? Because it's so half-baked. There's so much missing information. It doesn't make sense for it to even be covered by the news. It doesn't make sense for LAPD to be involved in it. It doesn't make sense for them to be doing pressers on it. None of it makes sense. So I've pretty much thought all along that we're only seeing the tip of the iceberg. And even still, even with all the crazy marriage information and the 4 of them flying on that plane together and the other 3 all arriving to New York City, we don't have a last name for Mariana, I don't think, anywhere. I think Amon's last name, I've seen it once or twice, but his name isn't usually mentioned first or last. And then this Alan, is it Kakaki? Kakaki? It's Cacace. Alan Kakaki, he deleted his whole social media profile. Like, didn't just freeze it, deleted it, because he knows he's in trouble. Again, he'll only get deported. It's the Americans that will get in the big fat trouble, the long lasting trouble. And again, I say only deported. We've seen the videotape of what it was like allegedly in Argentina, where he left, that people were on fire, people were throwing fireballs. So yeah. So maybe the Americans' punishment isn't as severe as being deported in a situation like that. Crazy shite, Anna B said, just like our girl Kylie's case, nothing makes sense. And again, I cannot stand SF Investigates. He literally makes me feel nauseous. I trust my gut. I trust my instinct. There is something profoundly wrong with that man, in my humble opinion. And again, I invite him to come after me. Please prove me wrong. Anybody, prove me wrong. But no, he's a piece of crap. He's a fixer. And I think that it's very possible that Kylie and Hannah have been taken underground to be trafficked, and Steve SF Investigates is there to whitewash everything and to, grease the wheels and make it smooth. That's what I think he is. Much like Xana May in the Kylie Rodney case. Oh, Jazz, you are so right about SF. He's gross. And he's one of these shapeshifters, Annabes. Have you noticed, like, every time you see him, he's practically unrecognizable from the time before. Even like day to day, he's a freaking shapeshifter. I hadn't thought of that until just now. And a lot of times these people who are really dark are shapeshifters. And it could be that they have direct ties to that dark underworld and that they practice worshiping that heinous crap. Or it could be that they're aligning themselves with it without worshiping it. That, it's almost one and the same thing. But I think he's a shapeshifter. I do. I think he's a snake. He doesn't even look human. He looks like a freaking snake in a human suit. Okay, I got more here. And I want to talk about that Kentucky case too, because I just found a new video. Again, I already put the link to it in the description. I think it's News Nation. There's the Pandora's box is opening on that one too. So Hannah's marriage to Alan was about 2 weeks prior, right? 2 weeks prior to the trip. So that would make it somewhere around October 23rd. And then Dog the Bounty Hunter knows Hannah from when he lived in Hawaii and his daughter was friends with her. Where are Alan, Amon, and Mariana? Are they still in New York? Did they fly back? It should be easy to track them. Why aren't they being talked about? Everybody's like, look over here, look at Hannah, look in Mexico, look in LA. We're going to keep you looking out in LA when we, quote unquote, know she's gone to Mexico. No, this is a dog and pony show, you guys. Total dog and pony show. And let me drink my coffee and then switch over to Kentucky for a minute. I love my coffee. I love it. I love it. I love it. Before we jump over to Kentucky, Hannah's family is playing dumb because they have to. They already lied to everybody publicly about pretending not to know about her marriage, which was hugely significant. Who knew already? How long have they known that Amon wasn't the only one on that flight with her that she knew? And maybe there were more than Amon and Alan and Mariana. Maybe there were more. I hadn't even thought of that until just now. But again, you got to remember that one trafficked individual can equal $1 million cash, allegedly, from what I've heard. It's not small numbers. It's huge numbers. It's huge. And one of the easiest ways to make a lot of money, allegedly, is from the photography, from the videos, because those you can keep cashing in on forever and ever. Steve Fisher says he's a professional photographer. Hannah said that she was a professional photographer, that she was going to New York City for photo shoots. I think it was like with a music, like a rock band or something. But who knows? Maybe there was more to those photo shoots. Maybe it was some of that higher paying dark web kind of photo shoots. Hello, Mrs. Amir. Just popped in to say hi. This case is mind boggling. My husband is Asian too. Cultural honor is a thing, like David G stated. Yeah, totally. Um, Nice to see you. Yeah, a dear friend of mine just went to South Africa to visit family. So you're in South Africa, right? She went down to the Cape. Are you around the Cape? You don't have to say because we don't want anyone looking for you. Not that we know what you look like, right? But yeah, we all have to be careful on the interwebs. Anyway, this case, I really didn't want to focus on it at first because I thought it was so much BS and malarkey in the beginning. But then I got more and more concerned. It got weirder and weirder. And I feel like I'm hooked. I mean, I feel like we need to know that Hannah's safe. I mean, who am I, right? But we as a public have been notified of some type of crisis or existential angst that she's in that can be extremely dangerous, especially if she's in freaking Tijuana by herself. And I guess she's 30. I think she turns 31 this month, is what I've heard. I I've looked for her birthday, but that was when I found the other Hannah with her same last name that was 42, born in March of 1982. So that took me down that took me down a matrix. So yeah, let's go over to Kentucky before I fall into the matrix completely. Mickey Steins, right? The ex-sheriff who shot his buddy Kevin Mullins, the judge. It seems that allegedly, again, my source is in the description already with the link to my source. It seems that Kevin Mullins is alleged to have been exchanging sexual favors for legal favors in his chambers on videotape. So that would be why the video camera was in there, was because allegedly it was this big open secret with all the women that were breaking the law and all of the men that were the law, that this was a thing, that if you got in trouble legally that you could provide sexual favors in exchange for leniency or forgiveness or something like that. So I mean, that's terrible. That's terrible that anybody's doing that, because that's an abuse of power and it's just sickening. We know that Judge Kevin Mullins was married with children, as is Mickey Steins. He's married. He has one daughter who's 18. Remember the last time I really spoke about this case, I was talking about how I had just learned that Mickey Steins and his wife had been in a pretty significant argument, disagreement, conflict the night before the shooting, and he was kicked out of his home. She wouldn't allow him to stay there overnight. So I'm curious where Mickey Stein stayed the night before. Maybe he slept in his car. Maybe he slept in the chambers. I don't know. Maybe he got a hotel room. Maybe he slept on Kevin Mullins's couch. But the deputy that had already been prosecuted for the abuse, so we won't say alleged with that, since he's been prosecuted, then that's considered proven, right? That deputy was somebody that Mickey Steins directly supervised. So it was Mickey Steins's responsibility to make sure that his employees didn't do crap like that. So he either knew and didn't care, or he didn't know and he was too stupid to know. So either way, that makes him liable from a legal standpoint. He knew or should have known that that was going on. So chances are that he knew. What I'm concerned about with Mickey Steins is, was he doing it too? How many of these men in positions of power were taking advantage of these women that had legal trouble. So it's a dangerous game. It's a really dangerous game because they're in the position of power. They're abusing their power. But then when one of the people that they have abused uh, snitches, they're toast. And of course, we all know snitches get stitches. So people are going to be scared to snitch. And usually in a small town like that, it's going to come out who snitched, or it's going to be obvious or apparent because of some significant details. So the woman who prosecuted the deputy, she is the same woman that's suing Mickey Steins. Like, she's suing the county, but when you sue the county, like I did this with King County in Seattle, you have to name who it is as a county employee that you're suing. So yeah, you're suing the whole county, but who is the significant party? So Mickey Steins, I think, is the only person named in that lawsuit. And I also think that he had just done a deposition 2 or 3 days prior to shooting his friend Kevin Mullins. So we know that Kevin and him went out to lunch at their regular place and ordered their regular lunch, which is just like 1 or 2 doors down. And they sat outside and they had like wings, chicken wings and salad. And then there were other people there. And during the lunch, the conversation between Kevin and Mickey, according to other parties that were there, was something along the lines of Kevin saying, well, why don't we talk about that in my chambers after lunch? Do we need to talk about that in my chambers after lunch? So then after lunch, they went into Judge Mullins' chambers. What we can see on the videotape, I think, is Mickey trying to call his daughter from his own phone and then demanding the judge's phone, and then calling his daughter from the judge's phone, and then her answering, and then him hanging up and shooting the judge several times. Was it 5 shots? The judge sees it coming and he's like begging for his life, most likely bracing for his life. And then after he's shot and on the ground, Mickey walks around the desk and point blank shoots him at close range to make sure that the job is done, right? Then he steps outside of the judge's chambers and says, arrest me, please just treat me fairly. And then I don't know if it was that day or the next day that he said something to the effect of, they were trying to kidnap my wife and daughter. They were trying to kidnap my family. And after learning about the argument that him and his wife were in the night before, if there was a history of domestic violence or if she feared domestic violence, which she probably did, because, I mean, look, the guy within 24 hours offed somebody. So as his wife, she probably picked up on that seething danger, right? Whether there is a history of domestic violence or not. Like, why else would she kick him out of the house? Maybe he was abusing the women that had committed crimes too. And maybe she learned of that and maybe she wasn't having it. It's quite possible, right? Anyway, my point is that I think most of us at first thought, okay, well, he was afraid that people were trying to kidnap his family, so he was trying to protect his family, maybe. And now I'm thinking his family was afraid of him. They had reason to be, because he turns around and offs his buddy, and they haven't come out and said a single solitary word one way or the other of whether they support him or don't support him. And I think the silence speaks volumes. I do. Where are we at? We're just at about 45 minutes. So I wanted to give a shout out to Los Angeles Magazine, which is who I think broke the story with Hannah's marriage and with her husband, ex-boyfriend, ex-boyfriend's wife, all being on that plane. Like I said, a lot of people don't realize still that there were four of them on that plane traveling together, allegedly, even if Hannah and Amon weren't sitting together. They were on the same flight to the same destination, and she chose to get off that flight in Los Angeles. The other three all landed in New York together. And then what? Then where did they go? Maybe they went straight back to LA to try to find her. I don't know. That's just a guess. That's just a shot in the dark. But what a mess. What an absolute mess. So Hannah's post on November 7th, Hell hath no wrath like a woman scorned. That was under a profile with that's spelled Midoриeve. I have no idea what that means. Do you guys have any idea what that means? This pencil is a really amazing pencil, by the way. I think it's that brand Cross. I don't know. I think I bought it for one of my kids for a graduation gift, and then they didn't care for it. They left it, so I'll take it. I just found it in my stuff recently and was like, cool. Anyway, hell hath no wrath like a woman scorned. So that tells me that Hannah had a broken heart and that she was really upset about it. And then if she was getting screwed out of her cut on top of that, when she's taken this huge risk, she probably knows that the punishment can be $250,000 and or jail time, years of jail time. Not only would she have a broken heart, be angry and humiliated, but yeah. I'm thinking though, if she was concerned about getting charged with that, the smartest thing to do would have been to go straight to the authorities, right? And confess and cooperate. I don't know. Again, you're not going to find a lot of logic in criminal behavior. You're just not. I mean, I think we always look for the logic, we look for the motive, we look for the backstory, but I like to compare it to hitting your head against a brick wall. You're not going to make sense of crazy ever. Believe me, I've tried. Are we going to be gaslighted again in this case? I think that we are all being gaslighted by the LAPD, by SF, by her family. I do. But I'm still concerned for her safety. And I think that her family is genuinely concerned for her safety. But she might not feel safe being in contact with them, right? I mean, again, we still don't know any of their freaking professions other than Amon working in the construction field. We don't know what anybody did for legit income. I heard, I think it was in JLR's chat, that maybe the aunt had a van life kind of blog and that it blew up with the numbers of followers because of this case, and that maybe that was a thing. I think that's the aunt who keeps showing her face and like being the spokesperson for the family. And she's just really she seems very contrived. She seems very manipulative. Her crying does not seem sincere. It seems like a show. She seems like an actress. And yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if Hannah doesn't feel safe contacting any of her family members. And yeah, I do wonder about her father, if he did that or if that was done to him. It's so much like the that scene from Fargo where the father meets the thugs up on the roof of the parking garage. And I looked it up. I think 2 people were unalived on the parking garage. He was one, and then the parking attendant was one. And then I think one of the thugs got a slug in him from the dad, but he survived. That was the thug that offed the other thug, who was the one who took most of the lives. I think there were 7 lives lost in that case. And like I said, it is based on true events. Of course, movies always take creative liberties. So that's where all the confusion of when the movie came out, they were like, oh, this is a true story. And then now it's said that it's not a true story. It's all based on true events of real life people and real life tragedies. So, but anyway, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up. We're just at 50 minutes. Thank you guys so much for being here. Let me read the comments that I haven't read yet. Mrs. Amir says, yes, South Africa in a province called Free State, town Vicksburg, next to a border to a small landlocked country named Lesotho. I hear it's beautiful. I think of the Joni Mitchell song, The Wind is in from Africa. Last night I couldn't sleep. Carrie, you guys know Carrie, right? That's like one of her most famous songs. Let's see. Are we going to be gaslighted again in this case? Of course. We always are, right? I mean, that's why I do my channel. That's why I do my content, is to try to ungaslight myself and anybody else who's interested. So, and I always want to give Shan a shout out for that. She was kind of the one who coined the phrase, let's all ungaslight ourselves with jazz. And I just thought that was super cool. So that's my catchphrase. Let's ungaslight ourselves together. There's so much corruption in the LAPD. And Dog the Bounty Hunter specifically talks about how great they are, which he's probably just not biting the hand that feeds him, because probably a lot of his income comes through referrals from the LAPD. We all know that the LAPD is corrupt AF. I mean, that's what Dragnet was, the story of, the original law enforcement television series, Dragnet, with Jack Webb. And then, Mark Furman with the O.J. Simpson case. It's a huge freaking department. Rodney King, the department, I'm sure, has thousands of officers. Like, let's just Google that. So, of course, there's going to be corruption, unfortunately. LAPD number of officers. About 9,000 officers and 3,000 civilian staff, making it the 3rd largest municipal police department in the United States. Wow. Wow. And they have a shortage, of course. So New York City is the largest, with almost 20,000 civilian employees. What's the 2nd largest? Sorry, I just have to know. 2nd largest PD. Chicago. That's wild that Chicago is larger than Los Angeles. But then, that's just the city. So the city of New York, the city of Chicago, the city of LA, because then you got county stuff too. Like Los Angeles County. I'm not sure what the name of the county that Chicago is in. So Chicago is the 2nd largest police department in the nation, with over 12,000 officers. Fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. And then Now I'm just so curious. See, I fall down the rabbit holes and then I'm phubbing my friends here. That was such a good movie. Yeah, Fargo. And now there's a TV show, which I've never watched. Aw, Anna Bees, you're so sweet. Um, let's see. So we've got New York, Chicago, LA, and then Philly, Houston, and Vegas is number 6. Washington, D.C. is number 7. That's wild. Miami, 8. Dallas, 9. Phoenix, 10. Nassau County is 11. Isn't Nassau County Florida? No, Michigan. Wait. Where are we? New York. Nassau County is New York. Detroit Police is 12. San Antonio, 13. Suffolk County, New York is 14. Baltimore is 15. And see, that's a pretty small city, but a lot of violence, a lot of crime. San Diego's 16. Columbus, Ohio is 17. Columbus is hardcore, big time. It's got a lot to offer, but it's riddled with crime. San Francisco is 18. 19 is Memphis. 20 is Baltimore County. Charlotte, North Carolina is 21. That's interesting because Lumbar River State Park, right? Fascinating. Going over to the Micah Miller case. Honolulu is 22. Yeah, there's a lot of crime. That's why they came out with that TV show Hawaii Five-0, because you had a lot of locals preying on the tourists, and they still do. They still do. But you're on an island, so it's going to be hard to not get caught, especially with surveillance these days. Boston is 23. 24 is Dallas, Fort Worth. Actually, Fort Worth, not Dallas. 25 is Milwaukee. Fascinating. I'm just such a nerd with stats. I love stats. I love your sweet comment there, Anna Bees. So yeah, I have it set that you can only make a comment every 6 seconds. And so in case you were wondering, because you've made a bunch of comments in a row and maybe you're like, why isn't it working? And then it works. That's why. That is wild. My best friend worked as a corrections officer at Cook County Jail, and her dad and brothers are Chicago PD. Oh, is Cook County, is that the county that Chicago is in? Wow. And, female corrections officers, it's frightening. Absolutely frightening. If they get assaulted, it's just deplorable. It's sort of every inmate's fantasy to assault female corrections officers. I mean, a lot of male corrections officers have liaisons with female prisoners, right? And I'm sure the other way around happens, like with that that case, Casey White, and was it Victoria White, the sergeant who ran off with the super tall prisoner, and then they got caught. She got killed. Let's see, Casey White. What was his name? That's not right. Yeah, it is Casey White and Vicky White. So they had the same last name, but they weren't married. But he called her his wife. That was so sad because it was so predictable that she was risking everything, and that even though she was the one in the position of power as the sergeant at the jail, he completely hoodwinked her. He didn't give a crap if she died or not. And I think that law enforcement tried to say that he's the one that offed her, but they could just be scapegoating him too. That was absolutely devastating. That wasn't that long ago. April 29th of 2022, Casey White and Vicky White. So he was awaiting trial in a capital murder charge, and then And where were they? They were somewhere in the South. Um, Lauderdale County, um, Alabama, outside of Birmingham, Alabama. Well, that's where he is now. That's where he's serving his life sentence. So, yeah, there's a Netflix about that, and I think I watched it. It's just such a sad case. I remember when it was happening, and they only were on the run for like 4 days, I think. And it was a surveillance camera at you do it like a DIY car wash that nailed them. But he was really mad at her because she went and bought a brand new car for the run that they were on, and she bought an orange car. Like it was a really pretty orange. I can see why she bought it, but not being a criminal, she wasn't thinking, and he like flipped out on her for buying an orange car, and then they got a different car. Yeah, Anna B says, I remember that. She retired when COVID hit. Well, I'm glad that it sounds like she wasn't ever violated. It's so disgusting that, I mean, personally, I think that sexual assaults are just the lowest of all of the crimes. And especially, of course, when people are underaged. But even when they're not underaged, I just think it's not an act of you know physical titillation, excitement. It's an act of violence. It's an act of humiliation. That's what I'm trying to say. It's it's the most profound way to humiliate somebody, and it just makes me so sad that so many people like think of Vanessa. How do you say her name? I always mess it up. Vanessa Gillen. I think I overcomplicate her name. The officer down there at Fort Hood, Texas, that was unalived in the Armory building. Um, Vanessa Julian, help me out here. um, I can always say it when I'm not on camera. When I'm on camera, I totally mess it up. Anyway, she was probably violated, and then her life was extinguished during that process, is my guess. And I think that it's kind of how it's gone down on the record. But again, nobody wants to talk about that stuff. It's horrible. It's horrible enough that her life is lost, but then that just makes it that much grosser. And then who is that beautiful young woman? Her last name was Bobo. You guys know who I'm talking about? Um, Holly Bobo. See, I don't even have to like have Wikipedia pull it up. It's like as soon as I type it in there, my brain goes zing. Holly Bobo, September 2014. She was assaulted by more than one, and they tried to take her life during that process. And she was holding on to dear life. They were about to throw her in the river, rolled up in a carpet, I think, maybe a sleeping bag, and or a quilt. Actually, I think it was a quilt. She was rolled up in a quilt. They were about to throw her in the river, and her freaking toe moved, and I think she let out a noise. And that's when the dirt bag that was behind it all, Zachary Adams, fired his weapon to make sure that she didn't survive. So she almost survived. And, you know, again, like you think that you wouldn't even want to survive an assault like that. But I think for somebody who's actually in that life and death process, that they will do anything to survive. Most likely. I mean, of course, some people would choose to just not have to live with that trauma. But so many people have lived through such severe traumas and they're doing well. I don't want to just say they're doing all right. They're doing well. So when I say things like I hope that Kylie Rodney's still alive, I mean it. I really hope she's still alive, but I doubt it's so unlikely. Let's see. Yeah, that Holly Bobo case is so freaking awful. I think it's Tennessee. If you don't know the case about Holly Bobo, don't look it up. I'll put a link in the description, but don't tap on it unless you are sitting down. It's so sad. I think she was 21. She might have been 22 or 23, but her mom lied and said she was 17 because they weren't going to do an Amber Alert. And they were like, only if she's under 18. And her mom's just like, okay, she's under 18 then. And her poor mom like passed out during the trial from all the stress. It was when she was hearing some of the details. I think it was when she heard that detail about them shooting her at the river, because that was what got them busted too, even though it took years for her remains to be found. The echo of the gunshot, because they weren't expecting to have to fire their gun, so they didn't have a silencer or anything. And then on the water, it just reverberates for miles. I mean, who knows? And again, that takes my free associating brain over to Falls City, Washington, that 15-year-old on, was it like Princess Lake or something like that, that took out his mother and father and his little sister and his two little brothers, and his one little sister survived, the 11-year-old. Oh man, that poor girl. And again, you would think like that she would be unrecoverable from that trauma, but she will recover. She's a kid. She's 11. She's resilient. I mean, she was able to like jump out of a 2-story building while wounded in the neck, in the hand and the neck, with the bullets, bleeding profusely. And then she was able to run to the neighbor, explain what happened, call 911, and give great detail of who did what and what was going on. And then she was only in the hospital for a couple of days before she was stable and able to be released to her family. And she did have extended family in the area. But wow, we've all seen movies like Fisher King. You guys remember Fisher King with Robin Williams and Jeff Bridges and Mercedes Raoul. She won the Academy Award for that. That was such a good movie, The Fisher King. And it's about Robin Williams being PTSD over his fiance that was blown away with an active shooter in a restaurant with him sitting right across the table from her. You guys remember that movie? That was so good. So good. Anyway, enough free associating for the moment. I'm not going to be able to make any videos over the weekend. I have another yoga weekend, so I'll apologize in advance. I'll try to do some stuff, and I don't know if maybe I'll be able to put a short together or something, but I always try to keep up with what's going on and then just take a bunch of notes so then I can do something early next week. And I'm really excited that I hit 5 for 5 days in a row this week. And I'm going to try to make that a habit, because I'm a creature of habit, and it's like I either do things every day or I don't do them. That's who I am. That's something I've learned about myself throughout my life. I know I need to manage better and be more flexible and, be able to do things more moderately, but that's just not me. I'm either like doing something all the time or never, like very little in the middle there. So if I'm gardening like 12 hours a day. If I'm doing my yoga, I'm doing it every day. If I'm swimming, I'm doing it every day. If I'm watching YouTube videos, I do it every day. I cannot go a day without my YouTube videos. Congrats, Chaz. Oh, on the 5 days in a row. Woohoo! I'm excited because I like sharing with you guys, and I feel like I have information to share when I can get it out, when I can make the video and stay on track and, free associate and like the things I think of when I'm on with you, and then the things that I'm trying to say that I can't get out. It's cracks me up. My process cracks me up, but I'm learning how to work with it. So I feel like I'm kind of hitting my stride, even though my videos only get like 100 views. I don't care. I appreciate each and every one of you. I know my videos are usually about an hour long. Not everybody has time for that. Personally, I know I like to listen to videos about that long because I like shorter videos too. I like longer videos too, but I really like to feel like I'm kind of in a conversation with somebody. So that's what I feel like with you guys. And so I appreciate all of my viewers, the ones that are here in the live chat and the ones that are on the replay crew. It really is important, both, but the replay crew is what will make or break your algorithm. So please share my videos. I never know if they're good until I watch them later. And then I still don't know because, it's hard to like judge your own stuff. I thought the video I made yesterday and the day before, I thought those were both pretty good, I think. But again, I'm learning how to make these shorts so that I can take the most vital information that I really want to be out there. Like, I really want everybody to know about the 4 people on the plane and the 3 that made it to New York City, and where the heck are those 3 people and how come they're not being grilled? Why are they trying to get us to look for Hannah in Mexico? Like, that's a huge distraction, lie, gaslight. Don't trust these people. I mean, it's YouTube, it's the internet, it's crime. You have to be skeptical of everyone, and that includes LE, unfortunately. I know a lot of people like to believe that that's not true, but it is always true, in my opinion, in my experience. You always have to question everyone. I've known people in positions of high power, judges, King County Superior Court judges, lawyers, police chiefs, and sergeants that have all perjured themselves, you guys. I've seen it again and again and again. That's all I'll say. Then I'll sign off. Have a great weekend. Take care of yourself. Have a really good Friday night. I hope that you can relax, get your feet up, get some good nourishment, stay hydrated, and just be yourself and follow your bliss. And I think that's it. Did I cover all my signs? Chase those unicorns. You might catch them. And tranquility now. I always like to say, like the Seinfeld episode. All right, you guys. Love and light. Thanks again. See you soon.